everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, and I am going to record this short rant to be concise, consistent with my morals, and clear with my opinion. Fuck these quote-unquote predator hunters on Discord with the Chris Hansen mentality. Remember that rant I recorded late 2021 about separating fetishes between what's subjective and objective? And they also have this whole CIA complex. For example, if some CIA agents are provided with evidence of CP that someone else has illegally acquired or distributed, I shit you not, a few of them would already masturbate to it and came all over some of them. Meaning that if you looked at CP or lolly or any of this disgusting pedophilic shit, a few of you quote-unquote predator hunters may have jerked off to some of that shit and not told anybody. On a side note, as I mentioned before in that rant video last year, drawing lolly is a very gray area kind of thing and would usually land you in prison, but most times it wouldn't. I'm not saying that's okay to do, but just know that it isn't as illegal as you would assume that it would be about it. Chris Hansen is a grifter. Kaz Warfox is an idiot. But at least he gets the job done as an idiot, generalizing that the furry community is okay with pedophilia. Well, that's not even truthful, really. That's kind of slanderous. Because most furries I do know rejected furry wannabe pedophiles like Cord, Kitty, and other degenerates. That's like if I said, if all fans of a certain anime are pedophiles, or people who are just weebs are pedophiles in general because they don't do anything about it because it doesn't concern them. Since when did doing something for the better of a community automatically mean that that community you're trying to help is against you or is the enemy of the public? Since when did you fully truly know or have known how to detect a predator? Or better yet, catch one and not be wrong about it. Any of these quote-unquote predator hunters are fucking idiots. But they're fucking idiots with morals. The problem I have, which isn't one I've already mentioned before, is that they go after low-hanging fruit, instead of going with a plan to attack a predator that is well known, like EDP-445. And the person who hunted his black ass down was also a pedophile. Because if you're going to concern yourself with pedophilia, you have to dig into pedophilia or engage in it in a way where you're only looking at the evidence. Maybe a few you jerk it off to it. Or you're not a predator hunter. As much as you want to assume this false, pretentious, fucking retarded narrative or idea that all furries, all bronies, all weebs are pedophiles, it's only a minority that's so diverse that it can't be fully attached to one community without being attached to another. That's why furries reject predators, Kaz. That's why furries like Cord Kitty are mocked, laughed at, and rejected by other furries. And that's a good thing. But what's not a good thing is you amplifying pedophiles' voices. You deal with this the right way. Deal with it in private, contact the authority, send them the screenshots, dox them in private, and have their ass either arrested or have them taken to an intervention room. I know there's a lot of fan art. I know there's a lot of idiots who will assume that a lot of the people who draw lolly, or if not all the people who draw lolly, or what is basically tantamount to CP, are adults. I'm sure as shit that's not true. I'm sure as shit that some people who were minors who drew that were minors at the time. And later in their lives, or rather now, they do have regrets that they want to move forward from and leave behind. Cord Kitty is a fucking idiot without morals. A lot of people on the internet are fucking idiots without morals. I have my morals, even when I may or may not be a hypocrite to some people, as if it mattered to them anyway. But what is the point in being a predator hunter when the evidence you provide or were provided may turn you on? Unironically. Or ironically. Because you people are sucking at your job. All you're doing is getting or catching low-hanging fruit. That's all you do. You catch low-hanging fruit and expect it to be accurate enough in a sense where you generalize a community falsely, saying that all furries who are in the furry community are just pedophiles or pedophile enablers. Kaz Warfox is a fucking retard. And I know that when something doesn't concern me, I don't concern it. Don't give it that power, okay? Pedophile hunters on the internet give all that shit all that power. They amplify the issue. They amplify the issue and expect it to be solved. And if it doesn't get solved, then shame on them for trying. That's just the truth. And how I see it, if you really want to combat and catch predators, have the authorities already involved in the first place, you dumbass. You kinda not want to be Coyote Lovely, Kaz Warfox, or any other idiot who is a subscriber of their content, or an enabler of pedophilia, or an enabler of predator hunters. Alright? If you're gonna generalize pedophilia in one community, then you sure as shit are gonna have to expect the same happen to yours. Because that's the game you play, you fucking retard. Sit on it and fucking spin like a record, baby. I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. Hi everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox. I am going to give you a bunch of reasons why it's actually hard, or if not impossible, to actually catch a predator, in quotations, and either not be one yourself or get charged for worse, endangering a minor or even a child and not doing anything about what might happen to that said minor or child in the first place. Number 1, you actually cannot use minors as decoys. It is actually illegal in the US, UK, Australia, to name a few countries, to use a minor, even if they're 16 or 17 years of age, as a decoy to try and quote-unquote catch a potential predator. Because that's endangering a minor. Endangering a minor is considered either a misdemeanor or an outright felony in most states. It really depends on which state though, which is especially the reason why content creators on YouTube like Vita, Leo Convoy, Queen Serafina, Coyote Lovely, Kaz Warfox, and Ichabod are good examples on who and why not to endanger any minor on Discord or the internet. Let alone being the one having to needlessly put yourself through all this demeaning bullshit for views and likes. But not all of them are in the same camp. For example, Leo Convoy, Coyote Lovely, Queen Serafina, and Kaz Warfox are in the camp that intervenes and quote-unquote catches the low-hanging fruit predators or outright degenerates on Discord. They just found. And it's people like these quote-unquote decoys who constantly puts themselves through all of this without any justifiable reason why. I just can't understand for the life of me why. Why would you put yourself through all that shit? Why? Are you a masochist? Are you just a glutton for punishment? You wonder why Chris Hansen was well known for using young adult women as decoys instead of actual minors, but then was briefly arrested for not showing or providing sex trafficking evidence to a Michigan court, let alone a Michigan court judge. Number 2, you actually can't try to ruin someone's life. You can't just pull out your cell phone, record a video after showing supposed evidence of an NSFW tier text chat or quote-unquote sext chat. Also, how can we tell if it was an actual predator trying to go after some pussy? Or is it a bunch of these predator hunters, in quotations, setting a minor up to be endangered, or worse, diddled, raped, or even murdered? There is no set in stone or absolute way to fully tell and confirm beyond the shadow of a doubt that the situation happened as it is shown. Looks and screenshots can be flat out deceiving. You never trust deceitful screenshots at face value. If anyone out there is gonna try and argue, well, obviously, Bryan, you can clearly tell that the predator started the NSFW chat log. Well, if you think that, or even believe that for a second, you're a fucking charlatan. You're a fucking simpleton. There's really nothing else I can say to you. How did this minor, or even child, get into contact with the predator in the first place? Was the decoy dumb enough to take the bait? Or is she, or the whole group of these quote-unquote quote predator hunters truly hiding something out of context to try and make a point. The world may or may not know, and may never know. Number 3, you can't bait desperate people into things they don't really mean to do. I used To Catch a Predator as an example on why this practice is incredibly shitty in my old late 2021 video that I premiered on New Year's Day 2022 about separating objective fetishes from the subjective ones. It isn't really just a fetish anymore if a minor is in danger or at risk of being killed in the worst case scenario. And finally, number 4, you can't be hiding the truth for too long when it comes to the situation where a minor or even child is endangered. This is the final out of the few other reasons I had that I have adequately and fully conveyed throughout this video. Y'all can't be the ones hiding the truth for so long in any of these dangerous situations, revolving around a minor or even worse, a little child, be it a boy or a girl. Endangering a minor as a misdemeanor or even felony is just as bad, or if not worse, than being a predator just looking for that putang. Because if you use a minor or child as a decoy yourself when children cannot consent until they're 18 years old, why else would they think they could just legally get away with endangering at least a 17-year-old on the internet? The age of consent in one state or another state doesn't mean shit when it comes to actually trying to quote-unquote catch a predator. If he or she is not 18, I have a problem with it legally, and I fucking goddamn should, because that shit is shitty. And if you support these predator hunters doing that, I'm sorry, but you're part of the problem, and I have no respect for you, you disingenuous piece of shit human being. This situation has to either be completely fake or fictional or played out. While the shitty situation of living with abusive parents is occurring in spite of this entire charade or act, or they would all be in serious legal trouble for actually endangering a minor had the person or decoy in question be a minor in the first place, and not tell anyone until the recording on OBS begins or when the cameras start proverbially rolling. If you do any of this and consider yourself a quote-unquote predator hunter or a supporter of a predator hunter, I dearly and truly feel sorry for your dumb ass. You should have never found these people in the first place. Look what happened to Vita. Look what happened to Ichabod. They got exposed somewhat, but what were the others doing to contribute to their exposure? What would that mean? I don't know, and I never will know for sure. That's not the whole point of this video. It's just to point out the reasons why it's actually hard or borderline impossible to legally quote-unquote catch a predator, and I've done so. I am Bryan Mullins, the Fox, signing out. I have a video pre-recorded, and I'm gonna make that video available after this comes out. And I will premiere that rant video on December 30th, and it's called Fuck 2022. Goodbye to you all. Hi everyone, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, and this video will be solely put on the Drama Archive channel for a good reason, until it's in a compilation of sorts. I am going to be reading my most recent DeviantArt journal and rant along with it, okay? This DeviantArt journal I wrote a while back is called Responding to This False Pedo Accusation. This is the first time in almost 4 years that I actually have to address some dipshit on the internet in a now hidden comment, written and published by Draven Schuler, and it goes like this.
Why does it sound like you're just a predator yourself? Even if these guys don't get them arrested, it's completely worth it. Your points are shit, since they don't even use a miner at all, nor decoys. Dude, you're a furry pedo. I'm a retard derp.
And the screenshot reads, "This is why I don't like people like you. You don't argue, you don't counter, you attack, you slander, and you smear. I'm not a pedophile, you retard. Plus, I don't even have to defend them because they're gross, disgusting degenerates that deserve justice, but if and when justice is served, there has to be justice at all. Because if there's no justice at all, there's no point in seeking justice at all." The screenshot I took with the text I typed in says it best. When in desperation, when you can't actually counter somebody's points in a video, just smear him as a pedo for no good reason. Fuck's sake. Since when did my voice have to do with being a predator? Since when did you become the arbiter of how to sound like on the internet? This is by far the stupidest thing I've ever seen or heard someone say about my voice in my life. It's not quote-unquote completely worth it. It would just be a couple of these quote-unquote predator hunters tracking down, doxing, and or worse, just stalking an innocent yet desperate man who's completely down on his luck, to lure him in and say disgusting, degenerate, and enticing shit on purpose, only for it all to be faked and no justice is served at all because there's no justice to begin with when it comes to any of this shit. All I said is that using a miner as a decoy to catch a predator or pedo is illegal itself because it's literally child endangerment no matter what fucking state you're doing it in. I never had to name a person as an example of this kind of child endangerment. The way I talked about it was simply and plainly in a legal sense, and it should fucking remain that way because it's the only way I can without getting in legal trouble myself. I quote his stupid ass comment, "Your points are shit since they don't even use a miner at all, nor decoys." Really? Now that's just a straight up fucking lie. Yes, they did. They did use decoys. Because how the fuck are you gonna catch one in the first place without endangering a miner? You use a decoy, and what's the point of a decoy? You trap them. This is literal entrapment, and if a miner was actually involved, it's child endangerment, which is against the law. Chris Hansen used decoys. If they weren't decoys, what else would you call them then, dumbass? Sometimes a miner is in danger of being endangered by the pedo hunter, or worse, somehow fucking worse, diddled, raped, or murdered if the pedo is psycho enough to get what the pedo hunter is offering to him or her, either by accident, sheer incompetence, or done intentionally for the sake of doing it intentionally, only for it to backfire and bite you in the ass. It is that fucked up. It really is that fucked up. You can't see them do it because they're either blindly self-aware of the legality surrounding all of this and how to fake it without getting themselves in actual trouble outside of the internet and Discord. And to just drive the point home and be a little petty, it's U''RE, not your as in YOUR, a furry pedo, and no, I am not a pedophile. You fucking retard. I have someone assume that just because I made a sort of edgy joke when it comes to me taking that quiz about whether or not if I'm a Sigma male, as me somehow pretending to be a pedo, which is just as retarded as this, if not more so. If you're going to slander, smear, and attack me for not being 100% on your side, you have another thing coming, motherfucker. I'm going to say it right now. Predators and pedophiles don't even deserve to be hunted in a way where it's legally impossible to do it without either endangering a minor or entrapment.
I'm going to say all of this right now because if they turn themselves in or are caught in a much more ethical way, they won't have bait, decoys, or worse, minors themselves, just waiting for them or the predators or pedophiles to take it. Fuck you, Draven Schuler. Fuck you. Your comment was retarded, and I'm glad I hid you from my second channel, because if you try to say anything worse on my main channel, I'll block you there as well. Fucking asshole. Alright? Sorry that I have to go off on such a rant, because this is fucking stupid. This is the kind of shit that I don't like about someone who doesn't take criticism or can't take criticism well without slandering or smearing or being an outright dick. I'm sorry if that offends you, because I was fed up with it then as I am now. I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out.
Hi everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, and this commentary video will be interesting to kind of start off or continue into 2023. It's going to be concerning misleading statistics, vague reasons, and unclear causation when it comes to pedophile statistics and statistics about child sex abuse. This is a video in response to any pedo hunter or supporter of any pedo hunter out there, regardless of how you feel about me. This is very interesting as a video idea because if predators or pedophiles are not innocent, some minors or children aren't innocent either. And that's just me telling the truth right off the bat. Now let's just convey my point throughout this video in a blog article on the website known as themamabeareffect.com. This article drives the point of this entire video home already. Categorizing those that sexually abuse children as predatory pedophiles is not only a common misconception, it's also dangerous. It gives us a sense that offenders are easier to identify through grooming behaviors or lack thereof, and easier to understand. That they have a sexual perversion that can't be cured. This makes it all the more difficult to understand how someone respected and well-liked could sexually abuse a child and consequently convict abusers who do not have a pattern of behavior that people would believe would correlate with being a pedophile. For example, those that sexually abuse children may view adult pornography, creating a defense that they must be innocent because they do not exhibit signs of being sexually attracted to children. But, based on the evidence about sexual abuse, sexual attraction to children is not a prerequisite to sexual molesters of children. We think of sexual offenders as wolves waiting to pounce from the shadows when in reality it's more often the gentle shepherd that we need to focus on. Why is this? Why would seemingly good people sexually abuse children? Decades of research suggests it has less to do with sexual attraction and much more to do with the psychological issues behind their motivation. What are pedophiles exactly? A pedophile is an adult person, usually male, but can be female, that has a sexual attraction to prepubescent children. They may prefer a specific sex or be sexually attracted to both males and females. There are also hebephiles, adults attracted to adolescents that have entered puberty, generally aged 11 to 14 years old. A pedophile does not become a sexual offender until they act upon these sexual urges by viewing child pornography or sexually abusing children themselves. Since they have an innate sexual attraction to children, those that offend will seek out children. Some may groom children over a period of time, and others may act impulsively and abuse a child briefly. Other perpetrators that prey on children may do so because of the sadistic or sociopathic tendencies. They take pleasure in mentally and physically manipulating and abusing others, and may also target adults. If predators are opportunity makers, situational offenders are opportunity takers. Dr. Anna Salter. Possible scenarios of situational offenders. They can be family members, teachers, coaches, babysitters, and most juvenile offenders. Examples: a grandfather that never abused his own children, but molested his grandchildren. A teacher that seduced a student from their class. A boy that sexually abused his sisters and her friends during a play date. A nanny that took photos of her sexually abusing a child in her care and sent the photos to her boyfriend. In these cases, the offenders did did not necessarily seek out an opportunity to abuse a child, but rather found themselves in a situation that enabled them to abuse a child and took it. Sure, some predatory pedophiles may purposefully seek such positions, but situational offenders do not. Grooming techniques may be used, but the basic foundation of trust, and most importantly, access, has already been established. Why do they abuse? The FBI has established 4 types of adult situational offenders and the psychological issues behind their behavior. Repressed offenders may be struggling with a job loss, divorce, illness, or death in the family, or other life issues that is causing feelings of stress or depression. The morally indiscriminate may physically abuse children as well as sexually or physically abuse other adults. It's not about sex as much as it is about control and desecration of another human. The sexually indiscriminate may have an addiction to sex and be involved in other illegal sexual behaviors, prostitution, bestiality, etc. The inadequate offender may be considered a social outcast due to communication barriers or physical differences that make forming intimate relationships with their peers difficult or, if not, impossible. Situational offenders often have sexual relationships with their peers, or they may struggle socially and fail to form intimate relationships with other adults. Children are an easy target, easier to coerce, manipulate, control, and silence. It is no coincidence that child abuse and animal abuse are connected. Those most vulnerable are at the greatest risk to be targeted by those that seek pleasure in abusing others. Thinking errors. While child sexual abuse is morally wrong, many offenders create and reinforce thinking errors to rationalize and minimize the impact of their abuse. The inclusive and most detrimental factor of these errors is that they refuse to consider the best interests of the child. For example, they may convince themselves that if the child is young enough that he or she won't understand or remember that children are not quote-unquote people and do not have the same rights as adults, that their children are their property when they're not. Abusing children not their own is quote-unquote less bad than abusing their own biological children, which is false. That the relationship is quote-unquote loving, which is not. That the child wants and or sought out the sexual abuse and had the developmental readiness to enter into such a relationship, which they didn't, and even if they did, they didn't mean it. Pedophile, women who desire an exclusive and sustained sexual relationship with a child, a very rare occurrence. Psychotic women who suffer from a mental illness and who have inappropriate sexual conduct with children as a result. Juvenile offenders. This may be one of the biggest reality checking curveballs regarding child sexual abuse. Who would have ever thought that up to 35 to 40% of abusers were older, or better yet, more powerful children? 7 out of 8 juvenile offenders are at least 12 years old, and 93% of them are boys. Crimes Against Children Research Center, UNH, 2010. What would bring a child to sexually abuse another child? Sexual curiosity and a lack of proper education and guidance of healthy sexual behaviors. Acting out in response to physical abuse, neglect, or sexual abuse. Sexual abuse as a form of bullying. And sexual abuse as a prank or form of hazing, which is illegal. While recidivism rates are hard to determine due to the challenge that most abuse is not reported, there is evidence to suggest that juveniles respond more positively to treatment than adult offenders. However, the prevalence of child-on-child sexual abuse is enough to warrant a nationwide awareness effort for parents and caregivers to educate children on healthy sexual behaviors and remain vigilant for signs of abusive tendencies. Also, given that most children are exposed to pornography before they enter high school, and the growing evidence that such exposure can create dangerous attitudes regarding sex, the threat of sexual abuse by juveniles to increase, not decrease, is certainly arguable. Here's how we can stop them. Moving on. Or, if you don't have to fear having to do it either because you're too fucking lazy, niggardly, or arrogant, just don't have kids in general. Here's a fantastic example of some misleading statistics where the main source of said statistics are either redacted, the website can't even open or exist, or worse, gives you a misleading search result. This was, or is, according to lawrencekids.org. I'll play the video as it came out yesterday by the day that I'm recording this. by the time I'm recording this. It claims that the average child sex offender will commit 117 child sex abuse offenses or crimes in a lifetime. Given that the length of a lifetime is compared to how many minutes per offense is over-exaggerated or worse, overly extrapolated beyond absurdity. So apparently it's every 8 minutes, isn't it? Registered offenders list. So let's do the math. 41 million minutes in a lifetime divided by 8. So apparently 5,125,000 children are abused on average by one child sex offender? That's misleading as fuck. So, pedo hunters, when you all try to do research, don't just do a Google search and get an answer that you desire. Check your sources. If you can't seem to do that without enabling the very misconceptions and false assumptions that minimize the voice of the victim of child sexual abuse, then you have no place to be concerned for the safety of children. Period. The predator does not either. I am starting to believe that the entire concept of hunting down or tracking down a predator is solely predicated on endangering minors or children for the sake of endangering minors and or children, be they either just underaged or children at a much younger age. Unless the same people are going to have to accept the fact that underaged sex offenders, children who diddle and or be diddled by another child, exist and happens not just in this country, but all over the world. You have no moral leg to motherfucking stand on when it comes to not misleading the public and blurred lines so you can endanger a minor, a child, and do fuck all when a predator gets exactly what he or she wanted, and then some. Apparently, it is the most controversial thing in the goddamn world that I speak up and point out all the legal ramifications, moral and logical inconsistencies of quote-unquote hunting a predator. Also, it is apparently the most controversial thing in the fucking world to accept the fact that when it comes down to children diddling or having been diddled by another child in the first place, it happens all the goddamn time. Sometimes it may happen more times than a decrepit reprobate of an old man or woman. It may sometimes happen more than school teachers that get caught having sexual affairs or having sex with underage students. And I will gladly take the FBI statistics with a grain of fucking salt. Because pedophile statistics are as misleading, if not more misleading, than dog bite statistics. I will also take the misleading missing persons reports, let alone missing children statistics, with a massive grain of salt, due to all the inaccuracies that can occur and does occur when it comes down to a missing child. And if I have any of you fucking degenerate freaks watching this video right now, this is a direct or indirect message to you, depending on how you take or receive said message. For you to just take whatever dog shit nonsense or any inane fucking retarded excuse to defend hunting down pedos, all the fucking while having the misguided belief that all sex offenders are pedophiles and vice versa. Sorry to break it to you. No, they're not. No, they're not. If anything, people like you muddy the waters when it comes down to even discussing the very idea of pedophiles existing in certain circles at all. If you don't get the authorities involved or have them involved to begin with in a report before they come for the predator, you're an enabler almost immediately. There is no moral way to catch a predator. You either have to get your hands dirty, become a predator yourself by endangering a minor, or be worse than one by allowing a predator to get what he or she wanted out of a child, which is sexual pleasure, which is wrong, which is a crime. But with all that being said, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox signing out. I would love to let you all know that topics like this will also have a timeline compilation, just like the roast game has. Goodbye. Hello everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, in the mood for another off-script rant video for 2023. This rant video will mainly concern YouTube and the truth about the reason why they're so harsh towards content creators or individuals out there being quote-unquote predator hunters or pedo hunters, and I will debunk some misconceptions along the way. So brace yourselves, strap on in, and if you're too butthurt to watch this without a butt plug, jam one up there. I'm not doing it for you. And if it's one fucking thing that I hate the most is misconceptions surrounding controversial topics like this on YouTube and other social media platforms. For those who haven't delved into my foray against these quote-unquote predator hunters when it comes to going through legal ramifications, logical inconsistencies, and moral inconsistencies, like you can't try and hunt a predator down using a minor as a decoy because that's child endangerment in the vast majority of the states, if not all states in the country. And I'm not gonna deny the fact that YouTube usually doesn't give that much of a shit or any shit at all about controversial topics like this. They only would give a shit if it actually violates their terms of service by their own terms when it comes to child endangerment. But if they're vague and not giving you any reason at all, they're not being consistent with their own terms and words. And I'm with you on that. But the gloves are off when you try to cast YouTube and other social media platforms as pro-pedophilia, pro-zoophilia, pro-this, pro-that, without giving context. That you also can't fake it while using a young adult as a decoy out there to prey down on men and women who had their lives destroyed or ruined, or they're going down to rock bottom when it comes to real life, which is also just as shitty, if not slightly shittier, than using a minor as a decoy, which is illegal. And because it's illegal, it's also considered child endangerment. The very thing these predator hunters have sworn to fight against and track down the predators for. Which is doubly ironic because either you have to endanger a minor or you have to fake it and try to ruin, or worse, prey on an old innocent man just being baited into saying shit he really didn't mean to type or say or whatever. You never really fully understand the mental and psychological ramifications and impact losing your job, losing your house, losing everything does to you. And if people like these fans of To Catch a Predator, or people who are just blind enough to wear blinders when it comes to topics like this in the first place, proverbially, not literally, then I have to say this because I'm being brutally honest. You're a goddamn moron. You're an idiot. You're an enabler by default. Plus, if you hadn't or didn't have any of these quote-unquote predators in your Discord servers or Discord servers you know, why else would it be convenient to try and catch them in your midst when you already had them in there in the first place, doing what they desired to do, which is disgusting, illegal, and wrong? What were you doing trying to catch predators? How would you even catch one on Discord? Just someone who considers themselves a predator just jumps into your Discord server and try to cause chaos? Or did you just blindly let them join your servers and you didn't do anything about it? Not only either because you're an enabler, but also because you just don't care. And you make it worse by pretending that you do. I'm not going to name names this time because it's pointless. I've only named names in the past to clarify their positions and what roles they played. During the time I'm bashing quote-unquote predator hunters and the predators they try and catch or have catched at the same time. Both sides of this dilemma / conversation are fucking morally inconsistent, and that's a fact. And it's also a fact that not being on either side doesn't make me on one side or another. Because if we're gonna get into labels and putting words and things you said into people's mouths, then fuck right off. I'm not into that shit. If you're into that shit, you're a fucking idiot. And you need to stop. Whatever you do, just stop. I'm not even gonna try to help you recover or do better. Just stop. Because for anything, it'll just be a waste of time. The truth about the reason why YouTube is harsh and social media platforms are harsh on people like you is a little thing called child endangerment. And if YouTube and all these social media platforms aren't willing to be consistent enough not to be vague about these things, then they're part of the problem too. You're all part of the problem. It doesn't concern me. I'm not part of the problem. I'm analyzing the problem and I'm addressing it. So therefore, I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. Hello everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, back to you with another Drama Archive exclusive rant video. And I want to make a scripted rant video about the situation surrounding Kazwar Fox and his quote-unquote Fox Mafia after being exposed by Lyle Convoy and criticized by Hopeless Peaches. This rant video is not intended to be a chronological cataloging and documenting drama and events that led to the downfall of this pseudo-hunter turncoat and his degenerate pack of, degenerate shitlords who want to act like edgelords just for the fucking sake of it, to trigger people and not get any actual victims help at all. If you want to watch any videos about the situation, either watch Lyle Convoy's video on the whole ordeal or Hopeless Peaches' video on Coyote Lovely. Give them all the love and support they need. I just want to take my 2-cent shot at this piece of shit Vlad, also known as Gilded Poo, which is ironic that the commentary Sona he literally resides by is literally a piece of shit wearing plaid and fat as fuck. That also sounds like some sort of fake internet blood sports Nazi, talking all big, but never offering any effort to show for his dog shit videos, especially about how Gallagher and Peaches are supposedly pedo-shielders. That statement can never really be properly backed up with any evidence that even comes so close as to suggest that kind of insane shit. Kazwar Fox is a very special individual with such a Discord server role named as disciple of Medicare. This insane person is probably either in his late 20s or early 30s. I don't know his exact age. But if he's in his early 30s like Coyote, it makes it all the more ironic how Kaz, after having a Spurkfest with Kyle, dubbed him Jim. Of all the Discord servers I would never have joined had I not known the unfortunate cast of characters that are also caricatures of themselves. It involves a literal shithead who openly brags about having terabytes of zoo content, scat, and even worse, that I will not mention for the sake of time and truth value. It involves a mentally dilapidated conspiracy theorist who spends all his time spurging on kiwi farms, and most importantly, it also involves someone who concerns himself with a baby diaper fetish, or is into the baby diaper fetish. Ugh. Using this degenerate fucking Discord is giving painting with all the colors of the spectrum a whole new meaning. Possibly whole new colors. Of all the quote-unquote victims you supposedly gave the power to humiliate themselves, you chose Fursky of all people. Not even Mint Heart could come anywhere near as close as holding a fucking candle to this fake drama e-slut known as Fursky, who apparently wants Peaches to be sexually assaulted by Lyle Convoy, which is actually disgusting. And if any quote-unquote victim does that, they should be put up on the wall before the predator. I'm just saying. If Medicare had anything to say to Kaz Warfox is, what are you doing around these kids this late at night? Come on, dude. Come on. Playground's closed. F*** it. And by the way, Vash, this whole situation of you being even remotely associated with this entire den of drama, Deep Throaters, doesn't make me calling you out on Twitter worse than you happen to be now in comparison to where you were and what you were in 2019. Because that is whataboutism. What about being so bitter and crying like a bitch about me rejecting a fake commission offer that he didn't even mention the artist he said he was going to give money to make me a commission piece to specifically? What about it only being about me having the opportunity to be able to defend myself from something that I don't even deny, like being an art thief, but at the same time, out of sheer convenience, siding with other art thieves, but shitting on only me as a result, just to try and own me on being an art thief, even though that shit backfired completely. You all know that I never doxed anyone. You all know that I never made money off of art that I don't even fucking own. It's just an avatar, you spurg. But most importantly, you motherfuckers all know that I, as a furry, almost 24 years old of all people, no doubt, do not associate myself with these pseudo-hunter turncoats and these quote-unquote predator hunters or zoo hunters that either don't do jack shit to help the victims, or worse, bend the knee for the zoo sadist pieces of shit, or ironically try to piss furries off with having terabytes of zoo content, apparently. Only for it to backfire, especially when it came to Gilded Pooh being braggadocious about it. This is why it's not my job to try to help people recovering from sexual assault, or an animal trying to recover from the worst form of animal abuse whatsoever. I'm not a zoophile, I'm not a pedophile, and I am not in support of the very people that you associate yourself with in their Discord servers. I blocked you and Gilded Pooh because you two are not even worth the engagement you truly want just for the lols. You constantly arguing with poor old Tom or Lyle Convoy here doesn't make you look cool. It makes you look like the type of person that I should have never even incidentally come across to almost remotely associating myself with as a friend, let alone consider you as a quote-unquote friend back then in late 2018 on to early 2019. How am I a moron? Vash, you didn't think that I knew the context before I left you behind to fade to dust and relevancy, but all I know is, it's kind of a coincidence that you'd leave me for another fox. And yes, Vash, advocating for censorship also means that if someone quote-unquote stole your art, even though it doesn't matter and they don't make any real money off of it, that you would take that person to court and have their accounts reported and shut down. Vash, are you this fucking retarded? Really? I don't want to ever incite, much less spark the Empress Teresa equivalent of autism on you, for you have done that yourself, Vash. I hope that arguing with Leo and other people who show you to be the piece of shit you are serves you well. Because what if he makes a video on you? What if he turns out to come after you and expose you for the true villain you are, Vash? Because at this point, you just seem the type. I'm Bryan Mullins, the Fox, signing out. Hi everybody, I am Bryan Mullins, the Fox. Welcome to another drama-related rant video. I may or may not just only have it up in my drama archive. I could also mirror this onto my second channel. I really should not be making a video about this right now, but I'm going to anyway. It's fine. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger in the long run. Last time I covered drama in a rant video, I covered the fallout after Lio Convoy exposed Kaz Warfox and his quote-unquote Fox Mafia. Vlad, or Gilded Poo, literally being the piece of shit his avatar portrays of being on the internet, while having terabytes of zoophilic scat and worst content if everything comes out without Cass trying to cock-block it. Then, Firsky being a piece of shit who abused her victim status on the internet to talk shit to another victim of sexual assault, hoping that Hopeless Peaches gets assaulted by Lio. All the while, Vash Lancet and his brutally fragile ego falls apart, all because somebody asked for evidence. All the while, Lio asks for Vash to name names to back his claims against the Senate up, which he can't, and never will be able to because Vash is a pathetic liar. Vash Lancet literally slanders Tom and the Senate of being zoophiles, pedophiles, and blindly associating with zoophiles and pedophiles, or being okay with them, to be more accurate. All of this is just top-grade projection. This past Friday, I've been really busy on Twitter, digging myself into more of this drama unironically as a result. All of this because I publicly and verbally shat on these people like Vlad, Firsky, Kaz Warfox, and Vash Lancet. These same people that are giving Lio, Serafina, and others in the Senate hell, all because Kaz didn't oust someone like Vita first. I will not let slander cut the Senate asunder, not even if Kaz is the one who leads the charge of a war that he himself declared for his mafia, but did nothing of value about. Lio Convoy and the Senate do not, I repeat, do not sit on or cover up evidence against any predator that they already ousted and dealt with to begin with. They're not zoophiles, they're not pedophiles, they're not okay with those types of people, or any of that shit. In fact, going against Vash's obviously bullshit conspiracy theory based claim, Tom and the Senate deal with them accordingly and much better than Kaz and the petty likes of you could ever hope to. I get that Leo needs to take a breather here and there in his very busy 60-hour work week every week, but this is just crossing the line in my opinion and in my eyes. All of this because Kaz didn't get the chance to do the exposing, reporting, covering, ousting, and getting the victims goddamn justice against Vita first. It's just that Tom didn't need you, Kaz. Serafina doesn't need you. I don't need you to be a fake moral on the goddamn internet to push a narrative generalizing that an entire community, much less the furry community, is into zoo content or pedo content just because you don't like that community. I get there's bad eggs, but it's not something you need to spread because it's slanderous, it's conspiracy theory driven. I hate that take in general. That take is fucking retarded. I hate to bring this up, but Vash isn't the only one engaging in whataboutism. Now Firsky Doodle dragged her bloodthirsty ass into this. This comment just reeks of whataboutism. Just look at the way she just shot herself in the foot. What's worse, I can't tell. You making the Coyote Lovely argument at 4 minutes and 48 seconds? Or admitting that you're an art thief at 4 minutes and 18 seconds? Maybe even the fact that you admit you're as old as I am, yet you act like a screaming 16-year-old white knighting for their favorite Fortnite streamer at 4 minutes and 46 seconds Lamau. And I reply with, this comment is actually hilarious coming from you. I don't know which sounds worse. Is it either A, letting someone like Coyote into your circles, only for someone else to do the reporting for you? Or B, not doing the reporting yourself not too long after the assault you dealt with?
being the victim of, let alone not having the authorities involved to begin with. Like, for example, call 911? I can't really tell, to be honest. The last part of the comment is fucking hilarious because I don't even play Fortnite. Plus, she's really that unaware of how bad this will make her and sexual assault victims look on the internet. I'll be the first one to admit that. Outside of some spelling, grammatical, and even punctuation errors, this comment I had to respond to before I hit her shows that she's not worth defending herself anymore. This does not make her less of a victim at all. She's still as much of a victim as she was when that traumatic event known as a sexual assault occurred and happened to her. Because unlike you, the worst thing a sexual assault or rape victim can do is apologizing to her rapist down the line, because that's when she loses the credibility and value of that status, as if it never happened. I'm not trivializing being an art thief myself. I'm only trivializing the people blowing that issue out of proportion to own me on being one, to then push a false narrative against me because I talked about the very topic that made me who I am today, the roast game. I found this comment out because this stupid bitch tweeted in the most condescending way imaginable, but I won't give any of that shit the light of day. Only her YouTube comment that I ended up removing by hiding her from my channel, or channels, because it's not just that channel that I hid her from, it's my main channel, and yeah. This is beginning to be this whole Bryan Mullins the Fox versus Fursky drama, and I really don't want to make it that way, but she's making me make it that way. I know that this is going to be another example of fake internet drama, but this will be the greatest shit in the longest time to put in a drama compilation. By the way, saying that I'm your age is kind of disingenuous, because on your Twitter bio, it says you're 26 years old, not almost 24, dumb cunt. And the fact that she makes fun of my voice on top of being an unfunny and condescending cunt really pisses me off. You were tone policing me then. I hate it when people do that. I really do. And trust me, some other asshole did the same thing and falsely accused me of being a pedophile back in late December of last year. I made a video on that on my drama archive. Go out and look for it and watch. Just because I say that I don't associate with any of these degenerates by directly referencing to them specifically does not in any way, shape, or form mean that I'm making a Coyote Lovely argument. Any furry that doesn't directly associate themselves with Kaz Warfox and his Fox Mafia can say that without being Coyote Lovely himself, without being in his fucking disgusting shoes, for Christ's sake. Fursky, this comment just goes to show that you are actively making sexual assault victims on the internet with a platform look bad. Because you think you can just publicly degrade a British girl for criticizing Don Warfox over here. This isn't even about Vashlan Set anymore, because the last video I made on him is just enough for me to move on from him and his petulant existence. Now it's just you and me, Fursky. If you really want to debate me honestly or hash it all out on me, DM me. I'm on Discord, by the way. Give me your handle so then I can give you my handle and set up a group chat so we can have a little debate, so this can be content. You don't have to, because you're not worth my time. It won't change the fact that I can take any debate request, because I can. It's just either admit you're a piece of shit, Fursky, or get off the internet and stay out, because you have done more than just embarrass yourself. You've embodied the person you were the victim of. I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. This may not be the last drama video. Stay tuned, my furries and people. Stay tuned.
Fuck the victims. I don't give a f.
Hello everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox. Time for a different approach for a rant video for my second channel. Here's a good question. Does less predator hunters mean we'd have less predators at this point? Because I'm starting to see a trend that is actually starting to piss me off. This trend of these quote-unquote predator hunters on Discord, on the internet in general, colluding with predators and zoophiles, even worse, child rapists and zoo sadists for the sake of blood sports, or just for a grift, never giving a single iota of a damn about the victim or about
people that they endanger themselves. They are a hindrance to the people they seek to help. They are a hindrance to the animals they seek to complain and rant for or speak for when they can't speak for themselves. This whole fucking mentality is really starting to piss me off of pretending to be the good guy, pretending to be the hero, when anything, the anti-hero should be the biggest hero of them all by destroying the quote-unquote hero, purporting himself to be the actual fucking hero. That's it. All you need to do is take the piss out of these motherfuckers, take the motherfucking facade down, and then everyone will see how much of a sham being a fucking predator hunter on the internet actually is. And I don't know about the rest of you, this could catch on to Lyle Convoy unironically, but I don't know how, I don't know why, I'm not gonna go that far in predicting that. That's not my job. It's not my choice either. By the way, happy Mother's Day, ladies and gentlemen. I chose to do this unscripted rant video because I really feel like I want to vent off. Should we just expose the fact that possibly every single fucking predator hunter that purports to be predator hunters on the internet are just colluders with pedophiles, child rapists, zoo sadists, and zoophiles? Because if so, I will be the one who spearheads the charge. I'll be the one that'll rear my ugly fucking head, let alone my ugly fucking face, into beating the shit out of their reputation. Because honestly, if you're talking all big and edgy about how these pedophiles or predators deserve the bullet, and then, without anyone noticing, you colluding with these same pedophiles and the same fucking zoo sadists that rape animals, if anything, you deserve the bullet first, then the pedophile. That's assuming if the victim doesn't deserve it before you. That's only if. Alright, I fucking had it up to here with this drama, and I'm waiting very, very patiently for Lyle Convoy's Part 2 to exposing Kazwar Fox and his Fox Mafia and making some addendums/corrections. But in the meantime, I just have to entertain the suggestion. I really have to entertain the suggestion. Should we just expose all the predator hunters for being massive colluders of pedophiles, child rapists, and fucking zoo sadists? Should we make this link? Should we establish this link between the predator hunters and the pieces of shit they're seeking to hunt down, and becoming the very thing they seek to hunt down against? Yes. And if so, the truth will come out, and even the most innocent, even the bravest, brightest, and self-aware of them will be exposed. And I hate to say this, but it might happen to Lyle Convoy. I don't know why. I'm not gonna say that he did anything wrong, because he didn't at the moment. But if I'm wrong somewhere, I will make a correction, and I will stand firm. And if Lyle did something wrong, I'll give him a taste of his own medicine in only the verbal format. Not a piss-taking, but a proverbial ass-beating. But until then, thanks for watching my short rant video. I'm Bryan Mullins, the Fox. Before I sign out though, let me answer the question, let alone the title of this video. Does less predator hunters mean we'd have less predators at this point because they collude with predators and animal and child fuckers? Yes, but it's only a matter of when we'll find out how many, or if not all of them, were ignorant of. Because there's an innocent side to this situation where people blindly believed these predator hunters and zoo sadist zoophile hunters without a second thought, and having to literally cope through having to realize the fact that they collude with the very people they seek to destroy, capture, hunt down, and report to the police. Goodbye. Hi everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox. This video will not be an angry drama rant, but more of an update or typical take of sorts when it comes to this situation surrounding Kazwar Fox and his Fox Mafia, spurging out, melting down all the goddamn time, and just the overall fallout from this whole drama. After Lyle Convoy's first video, I'm also taking into consideration his addendum. And I know that Lyle Convoy is putting a bunch of idiots, including Frisky, in her place on Twitter long before this video is being recorded. So, I'm not focused on Frisky at this point. She's likely getting more grilled on Twitter than I can ever hope to. So I'm going to fuck off away from that. I'm going to leave the rest for Tom in the Senate. I only came to defend them against false accusations like what Vashlanset failed to prove voluntarily. She gets what she deserved for embodying the type of person she was the victim of. I let her dig her own grave and bury herself underneath. Proverbially, of course. I'm going to give you all some updates about the specific fallout. Number 1, Gilded Poo, or also known as Vlad, tries to backpedal himself being braggadocious about having terabytes of zoophilic and scat content by saying that he meant to say several hundred megabytes or something like that. But whether or not whatever he's bragging about is accurate or exaggerated is completely irrelevant, because having that shit on your computer to quote-unquote trigger is bad in general, even if it's not illegal in your area. 2, Tom just made an addendum like I mentioned earlier in this video, also considering the fact that Keisuke is not into the baby diaper fetish, and that it was just something taken out of context. But the way I worded that part of my first video digging into the fallout of this drama surrounding Lyle Convoy's video about Kaz and his degenerate Fox Mafia is somehow neutral, because concerning yourself with something doesn't necessarily mean that you're into it directly. It was an either or. 3, Lyle Convoy is planning to make another video as a part 2 to his initial video that caused the fallout I covered previously. By the way, by the time this video comes out, I'm still waiting for that part 2, Tom. Whenever you put that out, let me know when it's uploaded. 4, a good portion of the Fox Mafia are ditching Kaz to basically abandon ship and looking forward to start anew with people they considered friends. Maybe down the line, more and more of them come out against this degenerate predator hunter LARPer and his Fox Mafia. 5, Frisky Doodle, like I said before, is getting verbally and egotistically railed on Twitter by Tom in the Senate and other people. And as a quick side note rant, if Frisky dares to respond to me, unironically after being destroyed on Twitter, here's my advice to anyone talking to these decrepit quote-unquote victims like her, who become pieces of shit, is just let her not just wallow in her own shit, but let her ego's corpse swim in it. And long may her ego's corpse rot. She's not worth anybody else's time, let alone mine, just like I said in the previous drama rant video. 6, Falconic Chaos, or also known as Bloodlord, humiliates himself in a Star Shadow tier White Knight video, or probably worse than that in quality than Gilded Poo's conspiratorial smearing spree. Yeah, the one about Tom and Peaches being okay with being pedo shielders, which is false beyond recognition. The only attention I'll ever give him is only to take the piss. Also, if you don't better yourself, this will scar you for life, Freddy. And Bloodlord made a diss track on Lucid Creator that's actually fucking cringe. Not to mention, he tried to false copyright strike him. And it's failing epically, cause it has not been taken down since. His response video alongside with Keisuke watching by, just laughing at the utter insanity that is Bloodlord. Number 7, speaking of Gilded Poo's conspiratorial smearing spree, he made another video just peddling even more conspiracies, this time involving Queen Seraphina in a supposed Discord raid before Sarah's server actually got raided with zoophilic and scat content. This was the same Discord server with minors in it. I don't blame Sarah that there are minors in the server at the time of the raid. It was something they couldn't prevent from happening anyway. Even Chambers of My Heart, someone with a history of having rape fantasies and victim blaming in defense of Gilded Poo, attacked Seraphina for supposedly raiding his server before they raided Sarah's. By the time this video comes out, Gilded Poo doesn't need any copium to demonstrate how much of a drama puffer he is. He's so unbelievably fucking full of himself he can't even reach his own dick at this point. 8. Kazwar Fox is still seething like a little girl on his server, as more and more people tend to distance themselves from him and his mafia on both YouTube and Discord. And, to make things spicier, he decided to do this whole little announcement of, I'm quitting predator hunting as a fucking hobby. You don't make that a hobby. Lyle Convoy is not perfect at his job either, because he now has a history of not just double checking his friends until it's either somehow convenient or when all things go to shit. I'm not the first to acknowledge Lyle's idiotic decisions, alongside with some other cowards that call themselves quote-unquote victims or predator hunters that turn out to be troll shielders, that sat on reporting Vita and other predators themselves whilst falsely accusing Seraphina, Tom, and others for doing the same, as a means of projection. I know he makes the stupidest decisions to give these victims the benefit of the doubt, Fursky included, but that is nowhere near the same as supposedly hiding evidence in defense of these predators. He's not that stupid, Gilded Poo. Now is he? After this video, I'm going to go back to what I normally do on my main channel and other channels hereby. I've got some more great content in the works. That is all I have to say about this subject or topic surrounding the fallout of this drama. I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out.
I don't know why I love you like I do. I don't know why I just do. I don't know why you thrill me like you do. I don't know why you just do. You never seem to want my romancing. The only time you hold me is when we're dancing. I don't know why I love you like I do. I don't know why I just do.
Hi everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, and for a quick unscripted rant video that I'm only going to upload onto my drama archive channel until I put all this drama in a compilation of sorts in the future. I just want to point out the hypocrisy of Lyle Convoy, as if I haven't pointed it out clearly enough already. I could say that unlike Rosa Ray Ramsey, Tom did not lie about how long it took them to find out that Vita was an active predator, which was roughly 2 years or so. But that point of hypocrisy doesn't crumble just because Rosa Ray Ramsey lied about how long it took them to realize and deal with the predator that Rosa and Rebecca Starlight, among others, allowed to sit comfy in a server that had minors and children at the time. Because which is worse, 8 months or 2 years? And the example of the hypocrisy of Lyle Convoy is something I will get into in a little bit. But before I do, I want to make sure I get things clear. Even though my Lyle Convoy video has not come out yet, and will on these dates, as I will show them on the screen, this is not a slander piece. I'm not calling him a groomer. I'm not calling him a pedo. Those accusations are still false to this day. So let me get everything straight. At the time when Mintheart was going through trauma after being a victim of sexual assault, when Mint was a she at the time, dealing with Vita and Lyle Convoy when Lyle and Vita were still friends,
Vita started the GoFundMe page, whilst he was actively preying on another minor named Jazz. Vita then handed the funds over to Lio conveniently, so it doesn't make Tom look like shit. People gave money to the GoFundMe, which was started by a predator, until that predator known as Joshua Keith Vita handed it over to Lio Convoy. And somehow, Jordan Doodles, formerly known as Mintheart, as I will be gender neutral, for whatever reason, was self-aware enough to not move in with Lio Convoy until she herself, or at that time she was a she, turned 18. Rosa Ray Ramsey is one thing of an example, but this is way worse than Rosa Ray Ramsey. It's worse than just not caring about the safety and welfare of any minors or children that have ever been in the server that a predator was allowed to sit cozy in by Rosa and Rebecca Starlight and others. Sure, Lio Convoy can say, well, we didn't know that Vita was a predator and an active one at that time, but now we do roughly 2 or so years later, and Queen Serafina made the video with Lio Convoy and some other sources and footage in 2021. They knew that just exposing him outright is not a smart decision, but somehow all of this was because Jazz was afraid to come out against Vita when Vita was still a popular influence around Lio Convoy, a former friend of his. That example of Lio Convoy indirectly endangering a minor still stands at that point. Nice try being an asshole, gaslighting me in the comments, and then, after telling me to sit down and shut the fuck up, you say, we could talk about something else or just have a talk in the server other than this nonsense. What nonsense? I'm just proving a simple point to you, and you're so dense you couldn't even fucking get it until I have to explain it all to you? I don't believe that for a second, because you know that. You know that. I don't have to be the dense one here, motherfucker. This is just a simple point of hypocrisy, and this will be a drama video only coming out on my Drama Archive channel until either he tries to false DMCA, or he tries to take me to court, or call my house, or whatever. I don't want him to do any of that, and I'm gonna make sure I'm vocal enough to where he doesn't do that, even though he never threatened to do any of those things at all. I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. Thanks for watching this simple call-out video. Bye. Before I start my typical minor response video during this whole Bryan Mullins the Fox versus Lio Convoy drama / debacle, I want to make a few corrections and clarifications. Number 1, Jordan's name is not spelt Jordan. I got that wrong. I admit it. It's Jordyn. That doesn't undercut my point simply because I got something as minor as this wrong. Number 2, putting one of your members of your family in context at the time when she was a she at the time is not the same as taking pot shots at your family. Alright, Lio? As much as you want to put words in my mouth and make shit up about me and insinuate things I clearly did not say, you can go fuck yourself. And finally, number 3, Mint, at the time, being told by their mother to lie to the police does not undercut the fact that Lio is a hypocrite for having worked with a predator, in which both of them worked with a victim of sexual assault to get her out of the abusive home. The very victim of sexual assault that Vita later groomed and sexually harassed, all because Lio technically facilitated Vita's grooming without him being a groomer himself. I never accused you of being a groomer. I don't have to, because, again, like I said in the video exposing you as a hypocrite, Lio, those false pedo and grooming accusations are false to the state, and I'll continue to say it until these quote-unquote artists who can't spell autists right can get it through their thick fucking skulls. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. Hi everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, back to you again with another minor response video for my Drama Archive. Well. Shit escalated really quickly. About 10 plus days after my video exposing him as an actual hypocrite without taking anything out of context. Since many of you don't know how context works if you're just giving 2 examples, Rosa Ray Ramsey and the Vita situation when it came down to Mintheart. This, and also because I called predator hunting, whether it be IRL or online, a hobby. Look, a job and a hobby are not mutually exclusive. You can get paid for both. People think I'm insulting the victims or using them as meat shields or exploit them because I criticized predator hunting as a hobby. If anything, they're the ones exploiting the victims by being complete snowflakes and accusing me of exploiting the victims and making them look bad and insulting them. The fuck do you mean? Where did I take pot shots at your family, Lyle? Where? Can you point to me where? Other than just giving examples in context and shortly summarizing it? That's what I did. Not taking anything out of context in the slightest. Now, back to the point of this rant video. People cried in the comments of both my Drama Archives community post, Lyle Convoy's resharing of that post, and his big announcement that makes him sound like he's making this into a WWE match. They cried about virtually everything petty, like people misreading me, the fact that I scheduled videos for a certain date, they're impatient, or probably paranoid or both. One thinks that I may have bot followers, and it went so far as them pitching about me liking and hearting my own comments while pretending to find it funny that I do, even though some of them do that too. Tom likes to put words in my mouth and shit. All of this from the same crowd of people that think they have some own on me simply because I refuse to waste my time in either his community Discord or the Senate. I don't give a shit that you ratio my videos. It's free engagement after all. That and YouTube deleted the dislike button almost 2 years ago, so yeah. What are you people gonna do about it? Cry about it more? Of course you will. I will wait for Lyle Convoy's supposed response video or live stream on me. I'll download either one of them while I still can so I can filter out all the needless circle jerking, padding, irrelevant shit like pitching about what people cried about me doing, etc. And plus, the stupid, retarded comparisons that don't even make any sense, much less work at all. Clonophen acts all tough and threatens people over very, very petty things. I don't. I'm not comparable to Cass simply because you people accused me of being a liar and a coward. I'm not comparable to the Fox Mafia simply because I don't blow smoke up Lyle's Hispanic ass. I never said that Lyle or anyone else involved sat on the evidence against Vita. That's what I never said, and I never will say that. That's inaccurate too. I'm just a random internet furry at 24 that had a musical career. Or distro kid. I at least had a job there. That counts. So, I'm not totally terminally online. I lose weight almost every single day. I go outside for constant walks, to and from the library, back to my home. I have a life outside of all of this, obviously fake drama. I can't respond to any of these people without them telling me to cope, to keep my mouth shut, or at worst, pettier and dumber things. So, until you decide to nut up and quote-unquote debunk me in a video or a live stream, whilst not dogpiling me at the same time, cope and seethe, Lyle Convoy, and others who ride his massive cock. Your free engagement has introduced me to a bunch of pseudo-intellectual skid marks that actually have nothing on me, nor do I have something to hide. You people's complete inability to take legit criticisms against predator hunters, let alone calling predator hunting as a hobby, because it is a hobby sitting down, is the most hilarious goddamn thing I constantly see on this website, known as YouTube. Well, can't wait for the first massive response video to come out and see how you fucking cope and seethe. I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. See you then. Hi, I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox. Now, before I get into who we're dealing with in this commentary banger, I want to make things clear. Number one, I used to kind of respect the man. So this is a video demonstrating why I don't anymore. Number two, it's not going to be a slander piece, because what's the point in doing that if being as accurate as possible is the better option? And finally, number three, the reason why Rosa Ray Ramsey is not mentioned on this list of names in the thumbnail of this video is because he did not make her mistake. She did. And I will get to that eventually in this video. Alright, are you people ready? Yeah? Alright then, let's go!
It took you days to remove a child predator when you knew
I think it was like...
It took you days?
Probably,
Days? It should have taken you
like
5
4
goddamn
days.
seconds!
Lyle Convoy, or also known as Thomas Guerra, is a Thundercats historian, quote-unquote predator hunter YouTuber, and pseudo-intellectual moron. His channel, at the time of scripting this, has roughly 16,000 subscribers, and it is growing. However, this is not supposed to be an autobiography on him, but a video documenting his history with predator hunters, bad takes, and just being a hypocrite, with being a massive manipulator on the side. Long before he made fun of another YouTuber named Kaz Warfox for making predator hunting a hobby right as Kaz himself announced he was quitting, Tom has a longer history of this being his hobby. Given that it's ironic to make predator hunting your main hobby whilst you have actual jobs in real life. So much for your 60-plus hour work week, Tom. Kaz started his predator hunting shtick sometime after Tom did. Let's start around the time when Toon Critic Y2K got exposed for being a predator in the My Little Pony community in 2018, where he lambasted the community for supposedly refusing to proverbially clean house. This despite the fact that this predator hunter shit is somehow below him. Every community is full of degenerates, and even then I don't blame them. Kaz Warfox got around Lio Convoy right at the time the whole Zoophile Police Twitter restructuring incident happened in 2020, despite the fact that Kaz started his channel in 2013, not 2018. When Lio started engaging in this hobby and got around to being friends with another predator hunter named Coyote Lovely, who got famous for dunking on zoophiles, zoosadists, and predators. At that time, didn't know or wasn't responsible enough to realize for almost 5 years that Coyote was not a reliable friend. Coyote Lovely got exposed for not just flirting with the zoophile and sexting, but sending a zoo sadist to another zoophile in February of 2023, after the botched op on Sappho and Zercarlo. Lio was dealing with people like Buttons, Anthony, or also known as For No Good Reason, and Ichabod during the situation surrounding Mintheart. Mintheart was a victim of sexual assault, and Lio was part of the group that set up a GoFundMe page to financially support her and get her out of that abusive household she got stuck in at the time. Mintheart was likely the first of many that Tom had to adopt because he was the one who had control over the funds of that GoFundMe page. He adopted more of these victims of sexual assault and other crimes, whilst he was falsely accused of being a pedo, a groomer, and an all-around fucking degenerate by people like Gilded Pooh, Vash Lancet, and Neorah. Kaz Warfox then got conveniently exposed by Tom and the Senate, alongside with Frisky Doodle for saying that Peaches should be sexually assaulted by Lio. Kaz's dumbass story that sounds like an edgy OC's origin story. Vash Lancet for acting like a perpetual child over having to provide evidence against Lio, Gilded Pooh for bragging about having terabytes in quotations of zoo and scat porn, and Neorah for making a terrible exposed document on him. It's also funny given that you are respected by the community you say you hate, the commentary community. Vlad and a bunch of others raided Queen Seraphina's Discord server, one with minors in it, whilst Lio's and Peaches were 18 plus at the time, and still are today, with zoo and scat porn before Gilded and a bunch of spurgs got exposed. Others like Peaches, Just a Robot, and so on got around to him for videos about dramas that they made not so very well. Videos on Spoctor, the guy who held onto the nudes of a then-to-be 13-year-old up until past his 18th birthday or something. The name's Junkie, and others. His quote-unquote predator hunting didn't always go to plan, however. A victim of Grizzly the Medic refused to report him for being predatory, and Grizzly himself only got fired from his job as a result of the exposure from Lio Convoy and others anyway. Lio blows up on Coyote for fucking up many situations when it comes to dealing with zoophiles, zoosadists, and pedophiles. He was also friends with Vita, who later turned out to be a predator himself. Lio also shows a pattern of him trusting a predator hunter or someone else he trusted, no matter how much evidence there is against them, or how much of a scumbag they truly turned out to be, until it's seemingly convenient not to anymore. If 1 is a one-off or freak occurrence, if 2 is just merely a coincidence, then 3 must be a pattern, right? Funny thing is, he's done this 5 times now, not including Rosa Ray Ramsey, because that was not his mistake to make. That was Rosa herself's mistake to make. Number 1, for no good reason when it came to the Stallion situation, which is also the reason why Tom and the Senate did their first accountability and responsibility stream to Vita, or generally in the Vita situation, where he got exposed for being a predator himself. Number 3, Coyote Lovely, the Zercarlo and Hypnotist Sappho situations. 4, Kaz Warfox and his quote-unquote Fox Mafia for LARPing with Coyote, being ass-mad that Lio himself dealt with Coyote the way he did after being betrayed by him, etc. And finally, number 5, Frisky Doodle for being a victim of sexual assault herself, then going to say the Peaches should be SA'd by Lio. Why was it also convenient for all 5? Because they slighted him, literally or not. Doesn't matter. And now let's get on to the next chapter. Lio also has a history of calling people's parents and houses, regardless if he was provoked or not. He's done this to Bloodlord, also known as Freddy, because he not only threatened to rape Mintheart, but did a lot of other degenerate autistic things. But that was the only time Lio had the right to do that. In other potential scenarios, he usually acts like such a Karen because he always takes YouTube drama too goddamn seriously. Tom, at least, didn't do the same thing to Frisky Doodle by calling her house, now did he? Also, just block and report them. I don't call their fucking house over random internet drama. I've never spoken to any of them directly, even if they threaten me directly. Only if it's a fake threat and not a real one. But if it's a legit threat, report them to their local precinct, not the FBI, unless if they're making terroristic threats. And I swear to God, if Lio tries to call me, my father, or my house over this video right here, there will definitely be a follow-up video to this one. He also expects that children or minors will not be endangered or in danger to begin with, even though that's the point of his quote-unquote predator hunter hobby. He's dealt with people like Bunny-chan, Smash Bandicoot, Dan Alec Chai, Rosa Ray Ramsey, Rebecca Starlight, For No Good Reason, Vash Lancet, Kaz Warfox, Coyote Lovely, Zercarlo, Hypnotist Sappho, Gilded Pooh, Neorah, etc. That's like a firefighter not expecting to see burning buildings to save from the destruction of a massive inferno, even though that's a part of his or her fucking job. But unlike being a predator hunter on the internet, being a firefighter is an actual job. I will show you a clip from a live stream Techno hosted in December of last year. By the way, I've also called Lio out for this obvious posturing in a recent video I premiered on the 20th of July.
4 days between finding out someone in your server is a child predator and removing them. Are you stupid? 4 days that person can continue to prey on children in your server. 4 days that idiot sits nice and comfy in a server full of children. 4 days. I don't care. I don't care about her taking down her server. What I care about is it took her days to take somebody she knew was a child predator away from her server that had kids in it. Don't you ever come to me telling me about how you care about children, you lying, disingenuous piece of garbage. You are 30 years old and you're pulling this nonsense. Not only should you be ashamed of yourself, your parents should be ashamed of raising you like this. They owe everyone a guts greater than an apology. And now you have the audacity to sit here and try to play pretend that you have any moral high ground to talk about Zaid being bigoted against China, and who knows how many people had bad arguments that he talked about in that video that were minors. You don't care about whether or not your feelings are hurt, you worthless, gutless cretin. Find God. He's the only one who can help you at this point. Go to church. Can somebody tell me why every single time I'm about to dunk on some idiot just for being stupid, there's always children that are put in danger? Why can't you retards just be stupid? Why can't you just be laughable goons? Why do you always put children in harm's way? I'm sorry for calling you retarded. I've met retarded people. They're very polite, very sweet, and they wouldn't pull these stunts. They're a lot smarter than you.
I didn't know that.
Go get your parents, because I know you live with them. Go get them.
I just don't know.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You dishonest, gutless weasel.
Please.
And then you have the audacity to sit here and try to moral post all over the internet about how Zaid's bad, and let's just say this, let's just say that. And then you come onto this stream with this poor man who has no idea about the depths of your depravity, because I don't either. You may excuse me for why you supported somebody who didn't report a predator. What is it with you idiots? Why can't I just laugh at a fool? Why can't I just mock a moron? Why is it you idiots always wind up putting children in danger? Why? Why can't I just have one night where I make fun of morons?
I did not know.
Bitch, what the fuck do you expect from them? Proverbially giving them candy without going anywhere near a white van? Now, this section won't be too long, but just a brief overview of his past mistakes and hot takes. Number 1, Lio assumes Keisuke was into the diaper fetish, only for him to talk it out with Keisuke, not just on Discord, but in his addendum video, and apologized for taking him out of context. Number 2, Lio and others went with Anthony's false accusations against Stallion, only to cut ties with Anthony and make the right corrections after that. Number 3, his stream with Coyote Lovely on the Antunes drama was actually bad. And finally, number 4, his dog shit takes on Shadiversity's video on AI art in his response stream. Recently, Lio responded to my comment in the comment section of Jar's recent Spectre video, and it goes, I understand the sentiment here. I don't take either of them seriously. For one thing, Tom now has a history of foolishly going along with predator hunters as if being one wasn't wrong enough to begin with. LARPing, Coyote flirting with a zoo, etc. He talks all big about checking up on your friends. He should have never been friends with them in the first place. Being a predator hunter has to involve either endangering a minor, using a decoy, one's at or above 18 years old, if one can't afford to get into trouble for that, and many other shady things. I just now oppose the idea of being a predator hunter, not because I'm pro-pedo or anything like that, but because I don't concern myself with issues that never involved me or anything that bad in general. Here's his now-to-be-deleted response.
Jack, you've been actively harassing Doodle Tones for over a year now, and constantly hang around with the worst of people. The reason you don't, quote-unquote, get me is because you're literally a child without the ability to think critically. As for you, Bryan,
quote, being a predator hunter has to involve either endangering a minor, using a decoy, one's at or above 18 years old, if one can't afford to get into trouble for that, and many other shady things.
What an unquestionably stupid thing to say. You 100% have no idea what you're going on about. Sit down and be quiet.
Oh, the irony! It's too much!
Here's my response to his now deleted comment. That's not an actual counter, old man. Nice try though, given that what I said in my comment is true. By the way, stop calling yourself a boomer. You're a millennial. All he does is try to shut down the conversation when it comes to criticisms against predator hunting and predator hunters, especially ones he dealt with in the past. Just childishly telling someone to sit down and shut up is not a counter-argument, you fucking idiot. And he knows he can't make a counter-argument against what I've said because it's true. I've made videos about predator hunters back in December, including the one talking about the legal ramifications when it comes to being one, or faking it.
I am going to give you a bunch of reasons why it's actually hard, or if not impossible, to actually catch a predator, in quotations, and either not be one yourself or get charged for worse, endangering a minor or even a child and not doing anything about what might happen to that said minor or child in the first place. Number 1, you actually cannot use minors as decoys. It is actually illegal in the US, UK, Australia, to name a few countries, to use a minor, even if they're 16 or 17 years of age, as a decoy to try and quote-unquote catch a potential predator, because that's endangering a minor. Endangering a minor is considered either a misdemeanor or an outright felony in most states. It really depends on which state though, which is especially the reason why content creators on YouTube like Vita, Leo Convoy, Queen Seraphina, Coyote Lovely, Kaz Warfox, and Ichabod are good examples on who and why not to endanger any minor on Discord or the internet. let alone being the one having to needlessly put yourself through all this demeaning bullshit for views and likes. But not all of them are in the same camp. For example, Leo Convoy, Coyote Lovely, Queen Seraphina, and Kaz Warfox are in the camp that intervenes and quote-unquote catches the low-hanging fruit predators or outright degenerates on Discord. They just found. And it's people like these quote-unquote decoys who constantly puts themselves through all of this without any justifiable reason why. I just can't understand for the life of me why. Why would you put yourself through all that shit? Why? Are you a masochist? Are you just a glutton for punishment? You wonder why Chris Hansen was well known for using young adult women as decoys instead of actual minors, but then was briefly arrested for not showing or providing sex trafficking evidence to a Michigan court, let alone a Michigan court judge. Number 2, you actually can't try to ruin someone's life. You can't just pull out your cell phone, record a video after showing supposed evidence of an NSFW tier text chat or quote-unquote sext chat. Also, how can we tell if it was an actual predator trying to go after some pussy? Or is it a bunch of these predator hunters in quotations setting a minor up to be endangered, or worse, diddled, raped, or even murdered? There is no set in stone or absolute way to fully tell and confirm beyond the shadow of a doubt that the situation happened as it is shown. Looks and screenshots can be flat out deceiving. You never trust deceitful screenshots at face value. If anyone out there is gonna try and argue, well, obviously, Brian, you can clearly tell that the predator started the NSFW chat log. Well, if you think that, or even believe that for a second, you're a fucking charlatan. You're a fucking simpleton. There's really nothing else I can say to you. How did this minor or even child get into contact with the predator in the first place? Was the decoy dumb enough to take the bait? Or is she or the whole group of these quote-unquote predator hunters truly hiding something out of context to try and make a point? The world may or may not know, and may never know. Number 3, you can't bait desperate people into things they don't really mean to do. I used To Catch a Predator as an example on why this practice is incredibly shitty in my old late 2021 video that I premiered on New Year's Day 2022 about separating objective fetishes from the subjective ones. It isn't really just a fetish anymore if a minor is in danger or at risk of being killed in the worst case scenario. And finally, number 4, you can't be hiding the truth for too long when it comes to the situation where a minor or even child is endangered. This is the final out of the few other reasons I had that I have adequately and fully conveyed throughout this video. Y'all can't be the ones hiding the truth for so long in any of these dangerous situations, revolving around a minor or even worse, a little child, be it a boy or a girl. Endangering a minor as a misdemeanor or even felony is just as bad, or if not worse, than being a predator just looking for that putang. Because if you use a minor or child as a decoy yourself when children cannot consent until they're 18 years old, why else would they think they could just legally get away with endangering at least a 17-year-old on the internet? The age of consent in one state or another state doesn't mean shit when it comes to actually trying to quote-unquote catch a predator. If he or she is not 18, I have a problem with it legally, and I fucking goddamn should, because that shit is shitty. And if you support these predator hunters doing that, I'm sorry, but you're part of the problem, and I have no respect for you. You disingenuous piece of shit human being. This situation has to either be completely fake or fictional or played out. While the shitty situation of living with abusive parents is occurring in spite of this entire charade or act, or they would all be in serious legal trouble for actually endangering a minor had the person or decoy in question be a minor in the first place. And not tell anyone until the recording on OBS begins or when the cameras start proverbially rolling. If you do any of this and consider yourself a quote-unquote predator hunter or a supporter of a predator hunter, I dearly and truly feel sorry for your dumb ass. You should have never found these people in the first place. Look what happened to Vita. Look what happened to Ichabod. They got exposed somewhat. But what were the others doing to contribute to their exposure? What would that mean? I don't know, and I never will know for sure.
Overall, in conclusion, Lyle Convoy is, number one, a hypocrite by bragging about being consistent in his morals and his faith in Christianity, when he's morally inconsistent at best when it comes to dealing with predator hunters right away, or, more likely, being a blatant hypocrite using his religion and his faith as a cudgel against those that disagree with or criticize him for his flawed past at worst. Number two, he's a pseudo-intellectual who refuses to engage with people, who criticizes him fairly and openly, has very bad takes on some dramas, AI art, and other things surrounding predator hunting in general. Number three, Lyle Convoy is a bad faith individual who surrounds himself with people he'd consider quote-unquote friends blindly, but deals with them when seemingly convenient. Number four, he's not an innocent saint in any of these scenarios. If anything, he should be ashamed of himself for even calling himself a fucking predator hunter to begin with. Number five, he's a melodramatic Karen that hides behind the characteristic of being a quote-unquote boomer to get sympathy points. Number six, he's a masochist who gets himself all boiled up in the blood with stupid shit that nobody has any goddamn right to go through no matter what. And finally, number seven, Lyle Convoy or Thomas fucking Guerra is an all-around asshole and a douchebag. And there is no goddamn way in hell that I wouldn't make this video a thing, because I have to, alright? Thank you all for watching this commentary video. I have been your delightful host, Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. If Lyle Convoy's going to respond to this, or he's just gonna block me, ignore me, and just hand-wave me away as a narcissist, a troll, or just a dickhead. But if he does, so be it.
Good God, what is wrong with you?
Hello everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, and you know what? I would have made a small minor response video to Lyle Convoy's stream on me, but when it comes to Lyle Convoy's autistic nature, when it comes to him not making a single counter-argument without throwing an insult, crying and screeching like a man-child who collects toys, honestly, there really is no response, other than just going after my cringe past, taking shit out of context, like that out of context screenshot about my Me Too quote. Because if rape was a lie, then so is Me Too. Because, yeah, Me Too is fucking stupid. It's cancel culture, dumbass. And they only show my past in Wattpad story form. And other than that, Lyle got ass mad at technically 3 of my videos because the first one I made on him was sped up in the second one, so I wouldn't waste any time. The reason why I sped that up was technically because it's a pause and read video. Wonder why Lyle didn't even go to the first one, where it literally said pause and read. Mainly because he was too focused on taking pot shots at me, taking criticisms too seriously, thinking that I took pot shots at a predator hunter's family, when all I did was take a pot shot at him for his absolute hypocrisy. And his fans are still crying about it. Look, this is going to be my final minor response video to this whole situation between me and Lyle. Until Lyle does something stupid, such as false DMCA my second response video when it comes out, or after it comes out for supposed slander, or something of the like. But until then, there really is no response. My cringy past is my cringy past, and people fail to cancel me for that. And you know what I think about that? Exactly. I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. So before I start my second and probably last response to Lyle Convoy, which is a major one, instead of a minor one I'll just leave up on my Drama Archive channel, I want to get things very clear. A few to be exact. Number one, this response video will concern and include definitions and showing some more context for you people if you are really demanding for it. Like you were in the video I made exposing Lyle Convoy for his hypocrisy, for working with an active predator while there's a victim of sexual assault around, and them being a minor at the time, so Tom indirectly endangered a minor there. Even if you see the GoFundMe page and you still haven't changed your mind, whilst criticizing that video or shitting on it for the sake of shitting on it, I hope you're glad with me blocking your dumbass in the comment section. If you trolls try to fuck around or try to do anything like send threats or anything, I will either take them seriously if they're legit or block you if they're not. And 3, for whatever reason, if Lio Convoy does anything shady or something that's noteworthy of pointing out the irony of, I will only do this on my drama archive until the entire drama is over, so then I can put all this in a mega compilation. So now let's begin.
Do not ever try to play that game with me. I don't de-escalate. I go full scorched earth. Michael is a peaceable man. I am far more comfortable with conflict. I've been hunting actual predators for years now, and I've been dealing with lying clowns like you my whole life. You are more concerned with lovely Lena's lying. Who cares? I deal with liars every day. I'm talking to one right now. If I have somebody tap me on the shoulder and say, Lio, there's a child predator in this server, I'm done with you and I go. Never let it be said that I won't admit when I was wrong. You're muted, by the way, now on this end.
I realize
Have
that.
fun. Go be with your psychosexual weirdo friends, knowing full well that your family doesn't love you anymore.
First off, there's a real example of a predator hunter, IRL, endangering a minor by using a minor as a decoy in an amateur sting. If you want a real-life example, look no further than Kyle Swanson of St. Louis, formerly a head of a now-to-be-defunct predator hunter vigilante group known as KTS. He was indicted, forced into closing down the vigilante group, and agreed to stop doing this quote-unquote predator hunting shit, which led up to all those charges against him being dropped in 2021. But let's get back on topic here, or the main focus of this video. How many convictions does old Thomas here really have under his belt? Because just labeling yourself as a predator hunter in quotations makes the phrase or name of the hobby that you're engaging in lose all of its intended meaning as time goes on. Will he mention exactly how many predators were actually convicted for committing a sexually predatory crime because of his predator hunting? If not, it doesn't matter anyway. Arrests don't count until there's a conviction that is directly a result of that arrest, eventually or down the line, no matter how long it takes. Or will he needlessly hide behind his own braggadocious nature like a coward would? Because if so, I'd like to see him try to name any. By the way, the only reason why weirdos find you, Tom, instead of the other way around, is simply because you've shown a habit of surrounding yourselves with weirdos to begin with, and trusting a few. If he actually doesn't have any convictions under his belt, he's more likely an online predator exposer anyway, given how effective he is at that, however. Or rather, not for most of the time. Thomas's last name, Guerra, meaning war, and Denobi's last name, Ortiz, meaning brave, strong, or fortunate, have one thing in common: dishonesty and cowardice. Surname jokes and obvious sarcasm aside, let's get serious now. And plus, if Lio dares to try and false DMCA this video, I will take screenshots and make a video out of it. The onus is only on either the victim or witness of the crime that concerns the victim to file a police report and try to help get charges pressed on the suspect of any of these sexual crimes if they're committed at all. Not on a vigilante group or person such as yourself or yours truly. Because I'm not into this shit, and technically you're not really digging deep enough to be in this shit anyway. I'm totally not saying that he does not have a single conviction that's related to the crime of any predator committing a crime that's literally relevant to them being sexually predatory. Be it sexual battery, sexual assault, or even child rape. Now am I? Of course I am. Because there's not a single goddamn one under his belt. He actually doesn't. But that's if any of these predators he caught, in quotations, had committed an actual crime. That's not the case, however, with Lio Convoy, also known as Thomas Guerra of Spring, Texas. I, among anyone else who knows how to do research and the history of him being falsely DMCA'd by shitty terminally online people like Denobi Ortiz, already know what house you live in. But since that's not relevant, I will be at least respectful enough
and not bring that up. Unless you do something to where I have to.
And of course, there's Vita too. But we can't listen to him, no. He's all about drama, right? So we should ignore everything he says. None of you are talking about this. Instead, you're still doing what you've always done. Sit quietly and hope it all just magically goes away like this is some infantile drama. None of you learned from the incident with Pedo Hat, and your lack of action only continues to prove that.
The best you've done here was exposed Grizzly the Medic. And now that Predator, after being exposed, can never land a job in that field he was working in ever again. Not because you got him convicted, not that you have to, because you didn't, even though it was the closest to getting one. But the fact is that anything you've done at all had an impact, IRL, in that one example alone. If anything, that Predator doesn't even need to be hunted down or arrested until he actually committed an actual crime or felony. Just being predatory and sending NSFW nudes, be it a work of art or an image taken by a cell phone camera, after having engaged in online erotic roleplay with that said minor, just won't cut it for getting actual justice or a conviction underneath your belt, even if the victim is at the age of consent, no matter which state they live in. To be more accurate and blunt, you have exposed predators in the brony analysis community, which is a subsection of the My Little Pony community, among many others. But that's all you've done for the past 5+ years. I'm not going to name them all because that's clearly not the point of this response video. But not hunted them down, however, even if you found their docs privately and were just respectful enough not to publicize them. You merely expose these predators whilst crying and complaining that these vulnerable communities, yeah, as if they weren't vulnerable already without your help, which they are, not doing anything about this. I'm not going to count any time that Tom or Vita or both went out of their way to publicly out more and more bronies or people in a community that turn out to be actual predators without those quote-unquote predators haven't committed a crime yet. Predator exposing is not the same even if you work with an actual predator yourself. If we can define a hunter in general, or at least the second definition that's relevant, according to Merriam-Webster, it is one that searches for something or someone, let alone a predator, be it online or IRL. If we can define a sexual predator in a general sense, according to Wikipedia, a sexual predator is a person seen as obtaining or trying to obtain sexual contact with another person in a metaphorically predatory or abusive manner. Analogous to how a predator hunts down its prey, so the sexual predator is thought to, quote-unquote, hunt for his or her sex partners. People who commit sex crimes such as rape or child sexual abuse are commonly referred to as sexual predators, particularly in tabloid media, or as a power phrase by politicians, and yes, vigilante groups, and vigilante people like yourself, Tom. Distinction from sex offenders. The term, quote-unquote, sexual predator is often considered distinct from sex offender. For example, many U.S. states make legal distinctions between these categories, defining a quote-unquote sexual offender as a person who has committed a sexual offense. The term sexual predator, in quotations, is often used to refer to a person who habitually seeks out sexual situations that are deemed exploitative. However, in some states in the US, the term sexual predator, in quotations, is applied to anyone who has been convicted of certain crimes, regardless of whether or not there is a history of similar behavior. In the state of Illinois, for instance, a person convicted of any sex crime against a minor is designated a sexual predator, no matter the nature of the crime. Violent versus statutory, or perpetuated against a young child versus a teenager, and regardless of past behavior.
This has led to criticism that the term is being misused or overused, and thus has lost its original meaning and effectiveness.
For you to just take whatever dog shit nonsense or any inane fucking retarded excuse to defend hunting down pedos, all the fucking while having the misguided belief that all sex offenders are pedophiles and vice versa. Sorry to break it to you. No, they're not. No, they're not. If anything, people like you muddy the waters when it comes down to even discussing the very idea of pedophiles existing in certain circles at all.
I may add that any actions such as calling 911, reporting these crimes to the police, yourself, IRL, and getting an actual conviction/justice for the victim is rendered more and more pointless and unachievable due to not making the distinction between a sexual predator and a sex offender, let alone a child sexual predator or a sexual predator that goes after minors. I don't want to get into semantics because it's retarded, but you people can understand my point now, correct? The only thing you will ever have happen at the very best of times is by outing these predators simply by them engaging in online erotic roleplay, Tom, is get someone fired from their job. No actual justice will be served IRL, but again, that doesn't matter. A predator hunter in this context is hunting for the predator just as much as the predator is hunting for sexual contact or dominance over that said minor or even child. But not all cases involve minors or children. A sexual predator's victim can be a grown woman, a grown man, someone who's gay, someone who's trans, someone who's black, or somebody else of a different color or racial background, etc. We're not going too deep into any other examples involving those cases, however. If we can clarify the levels of sexual assault in both America and Canada, according to a Canadian law firm named Cruz Law Firm, and for America, according to Quinnen Law Firm, which I will link in the description box down below. The last bit is the biggest catch when it comes to whatever happened to Mint Hearts before they turned 18 and before they moved out of Beaverton, Oregon, and moved into Spring, Texas with Lyle Convoy themselves. Mintheart was a victim of 4th-degree sexual assault after being groped by their thigh by their mother's ex-boyfriend, among other occasions, such as their mother being allowed to sleep right with them, and when their mother told them to lie to the police about the incidents. All of this went on while Mint supposedly had a thing for Vita, even though it turned out that Vita was actively grooming Mintheart. Despite Vita being their groomer, Tom didn't know, or rather didn't care, because both Vita and Tom had a thing for Mintheart when it comes to getting them out of the abusive household and nothing else. Other than a job, they even said that no matter if they choose to press charges or not, that nothing is going to change. Mainly because it's 4th-degree sexual assault, the least severe degree. Even if their mother's ex-boyfriend did serve time in prison, it's never and not enough to say, we have ourselves a conviction. Let's get a round of applause. Was justice served? Really? Likely not. But again, it doesn't matter anyway. There were, again, among many that Tom had to adopt, like I've said in the last response video. But make no excuse and make no mistake, this is the example of Tom indirectly endangering a minor while an active predator was still around, let alone grooming the very victim of sexual assault that Tom and Vita were trying to help at the time. I'm not going to mention Frisky Doodle because it concerns Coyote Lovely's lack of action and moral output, not Tom's, so that shit is irrelevant. But here's the more important and spicy bit for this whole response video. Let's take the only actual predator that Tom actively worked with in the past out of the few that Tom was friends with, like I've mentioned in the last response video, that was convicted for committing other minor crimes. That being Joshua Keith Vita. Joshua Keith Vita, despite the fact that he was several states away from Mint during the whole fiasco surrounding them in 2018, was exposed for the first time by FNGR in May of 2020. Queen Serafina and Lyle Convoy insisted on waiting for more incriminating evidence to surface, not only because Jazz is known to be a notorious liar, but also because Jazz was too afraid and even blamed Tom for a suicide attempt sometime before their initial video in 2021. After the fact of the first exposure, he got arrested and sent to jail for assaulting his mom on October 17th, 2020, while his parents were arguing, all the while Vita himself threatening to end his life if he doesn't get enough attention. Lyle Convoy, a former friend and a quote-unquote predator hunter on the internet that actively worked with this predator to get Mintheart into a better place and a better life, called 911 on him. The reason why Lyle called the police on Vita was because of the obvious suicide baiting for attention. And he wouldn't want to run the risk of Vita actually killing himself, which would have turned sour, and no one wants that to happen now, do they? He was later arrested again and booked on June 4th, 2021 for 3 counts of computer theft. And this is the most recent mugshot that I can find when I looked up. His real name is, of course, from Carroll County, Georgia. He may still be in jail, but if not, and if he's still around, this is not just an example of justice not being served for Jazz, but also an example of Lyle's pure skill of avoiding the police while an active predator is still around, albeit abusing police resources and wasting their time. By the very logic of being a predator hunter in general, in this context, Tom has done a completely dog shit job at an obvious internet hobby, not an actual job. At this point, I don't even really blame law enforcement that much at the end of the day. Let's ask and answer a few but very simple questions. Thomas Guerra, you better pay close attention to these, because they may just put you in your place. Number 1, did Joshua Keith Vita commit any actual crimes relating to or involving sexual contact, assault, or even rape of a minor or child? Because if not, then no. Because if you're going to report him to the police for shit like that, you better have enough proof for the police to then make a determination of whether or not it's worth an arrest, let alone a conviction. They don't just do nothing and inconvenience victims of sexual assault all the time for no reason. Again, there are 4 degrees of sexual assault. Mintheart's example is concerning the least severe or the 4th. And finally, number 2, did you or the victims contact the authority about Vita's online sexual harassment of Jazz, a minor at that time when it was happening, and Mintheart while you were at it? If so, well then of course. But the police did absolutely nothing there, not because they haven't committed any crime, but because either you don't know how to teach other people to do the reporting for them, having to involve yourself in it, or you or someone else fucked it all up to hell and back. There's a reason that Tom has no convictions against any of these predators he privately doxed and reported to the police, all the while giving his name, email, phone number, and home address out to them, and reported those predators to the police or their local precincts under his belt. Since he usually goes after low-hanging fruit that don't really pose as a literal big threat to minors or children, both on the internet or IRL at all, Grizzly the Medic is the only exception, because at least Grizzly had some influence, such as BronyCon. So count Vita as not being a conviction underneath your belt in this way, Lyle. And let me be clear, this may or may not be my final response to Lyle Convoy. I'm sure that my first one did something significant enough to him already. Anything else that Tom or anyone that's a member of or a staff member of the Senate will only go onto the Drama Archive channel until it's all put in a future major drama compilation supercut, including the videos where I bashed these online predator hunters back in December of 2022, which acts as a major lead up to and before before all this drama that's happening now. Although I am able to hop on into the drama every now and then if there are actual and brand new counter-arguments / responses that I can even consider responding to. People in general are fucking idiots, man. Every time I criticize a big YouTuber or go into covering aspects of drama surrounding a guy I knew in 2019, or just put out takes that most people would rather disagree with than listen, it gets me ratioed on YouTube, even if and when I give every single factual detail correct, not a single minor inaccuracy. Well, that's beside the point, because this second response video should hopefully pour concrete over Lio Convoy's proverbial grave after the first one just dug a hole for him. I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. Fuck you, Lio Convoy. Fuck you. And absolutely fuck the Senate too.